Hello, and welcome to the special summer series of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. During the month of August, I'll be dropping 2 episodes a week, double the fun. This August, you're going to be hearing brand new episodes that I will be sharing on all my favorite topics of menopause, women's health, symptoms, midlife aging, living beyond menopause, all the things to do with periods and tracking and all those great conversations that we're having with our daughters. And in addition, I'll be dropping extra special episodes on Mondays that come from conversations I had during my online menopause summit. The menopause summit ran for 3 years, from 2022 to 2024. These are conversations specifically around menopause that are still highly relevant for today, and I can't wait for you to listen to them. So get listening. Remember to rate, share, refer, recommend, do all those amazing things that we ask you to do when you're listening to a podcast. But most importantly, have these conversations with the women in your life, with your daughters, with your sisters, with your best friends. Make sure you are sharing your favorite episodes with them. And I can't wait to have you comment and tell me what you're thinking about the conversations I'm having. Let's get on with the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Menopause Summit. I am super excited for our guest today, who I met through the wonderful world of the internet. Emily Barclay is here to join us, and she has a very fascinating story and journey in this menopause space. She is going to share her knowledge and her expertise, and maybe bring us a little bit of inside information as to what is going on in the UK. Emily, please introduce yourself. Tell the audience who you are, what you do, and let's start our deep dive into your menopause journey and story.
Okay, so I'm Emily Barclay. I'm based in the UK, and I run Perimenopause Hub, which came about because of my perimenopause experience, which is still ongoing. I will say I still haven't reached the magic of menopause. So
I'm going to rudely ask how old you are. I'm polling all my speakers so that we know what that means, because I have, as you know, my clients range from 40 to, plus, and I have a woman who is 56 who is still in perimenopause.
No.
So
I'm 46 at the moment.
Excellent.
So I started getting symptoms when I was 39. And after going back and forth to the doctor and all the rest, which was a very long, very boring saga, I eventually worked out that it was hormonal, got the word perimenopause. And this was 2019 by the time I got the word. And I just couldn't find anything that was right for what I wanted. So I could find some support groups on Facebook and things that were aimed at menopause, but the people in the groups were very much in their 50s. They were very much, their periods had ended, and I didn't realize how big a different life stage that would be from me at that point, 42. Yeah. I didn't feel like I belonged in those groups. And also I found a few websites and things where specific practitioners were offering kind of the answer to managing your symptoms. And I thought, well, we're all different. Every woman's going to go through this, and we're all different. So surely there can't be the answer. Yeah. So in my wisdom or stupidity, I started bringing together experts so that I could have a panel, so that people could have choice. And I organized the experts into 5 different categories. So we have medical, fairly self-explanatory; nutrition, fairly self-explanatory; fitness, makes sense; and then we have holistic, and then we have acceptance. And to me, the acceptance group of experts are probably the most important ones, because so many of us, when we get to our 40s and 50s and things start changing, we push back against it, or we have past stuff that's kind of coming up again that until we work through it, we can't properly move forward, or our relationships with our family is changing, or our kids are getting older and leaving the home. There's such a lot of stuff. And so whilst all the other categories are very important for helping manage symptoms and for helping us to personally feel well, I feel like the acceptance area is really important for kind of future-proofing ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take you back a little bit because
Okay.
I know you skipped over it in one sentence. That's my sort of perimenopause journey when I was suffering and didn't know what was going on. But if you're happy to share just a little bit about your story, because I think that is the stage that so many women find themselves in, that what is going on with my body? What's happening?
Yeah.
Why am I being prescribed antidepressants? Why am I being prescribed this medication that doesn't really feel right? What is going on? And then explaining it away by, oh, more stress at work, more stress at home, time of life, this is just what it is, this is what midlife means, rather than that much more nuanced depth of understanding. So maybe just, I'm sure so many women want to understand from you what that meant, of like, you weren't coping, you were struggling, and no one ever used that word, that magic word, perimenopause.
Okay, here comes the unedited version. So in 2015, I was 39 and I'd been training for Ironman triathlon. So I was the fittest I've ever been, blah, blah, blah. I was all good to go, went over to Barcelona. It wasn't actually Barcelona, it was some little village nearby. But anyway, they call it Ironman Barcelona. Went over there and I was like, right, I've got this, brilliant. And about 4 months later, I just wasn't me. Yeah. I was sleeping through the alarm. I've never been a sleep through the alarm person. Yeah. Even years ago, I used to do holiday repping. And some days of the week, I'd have to be up at 3 a.m. I have never slept through an alarm. That is not me. Suddenly I started sleeping through the alarm and not being able to function at work. I just moved to a new job and I was useless. Honestly, I was useless at that job. I look back and I just think, God, how embarrassing, And I was angry. The rage. To the extent, one evening, my partner, bless him, was cooking dinner. Nothing out of the ordinary there. I had it in mind what time dinner should be ready based on nothing. And it was shock horror, 10 minutes late. I lost it. I totally lost it. And it was like I had an out-of-body experience. It was like I was watching this just furious version of me keeping coming back into the room. And by the way, and this, and that, and just saying these horrific things and hearing them coming out of my mouth and thinking, oh, I can never take this back.
Yeah.
This is said now.
Yeah.
And how we didn't split up there and then, I genuinely don't know, and that's testament to him. He deserves many medals.
Yeah.
But once the rage had sort of subsided, I just went and curled up in bed and cried for probably an hour and a half. Yeah. And then, this is the weird bit, I then felt hungover for about a week afterwards.
Wow.
And it was this was new, just uncharted territory for me, totally. Yeah. And as well as that, my periods were doing slightly weird stuff, but not to the level that I thought would indicate something was changing to be marking the beginning of the end of my periods, if that makes sense. They were just a bit weird.
Yeah.
And kind of all of these things added together, I genuinely didn't recognize myself. Yeah. And then there would be, I remember, and I laugh now because with hindsight, it's, I got an email, and this is just ridiculous, but people will relate to it because, I know I'm not alone in this, although at the time I thought I was. And I got an email, and there was nothing in this email to upset me, to do anything. I cried for about 24 hours about, I don't know what about, but something to do with this email tipped me over the edge. And during that time, during the 24 hours of basically sobbing the whole time, I had to go to some clients because I'm a personal trainer as well. And a moorhen ran out in front of the car and I couldn't avoid it. I mean, you'd think the world had literally ended. It was just awful. And at that point, I remember going to the doctor and just going, I've run out of cope. I need something.
Yes.
Seriously depressants. I would have snapped her hand off for anything that would cycle of crying and anger and just feeling so like, you know, we all have phases in our life when we skirt a bit close to the edge of our resilience. You know, if we go through a really stressful time, maybe a house move, whatever.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any of that stuff going on. I didn't have big stressful things happening. I just suddenly was at the limit of resilience, and it was horrible. It was terrifying.
Yeah. I really want to thank you so much for your honesty in sharing this story, because I think it resonates so strongly with so many women. And as you said, you didn't have a reason why. But for some women, there seems to be a reason, even though it, you know, more stress in the workplace, for example, or whatever you pretend the reason is.
Yeah.
But that total out of body experience of not recognizing yourself anymore, I think resonates with so many women, and they don't know what's going on.
No.
And as you said, you were fit, you were healthy, you were training for, you know, an Ironman. There should be no reason why there should be this collapse, because you were doing all the things right.
I was doing all the things they tell you to. And then obviously subsequently I've learned a lot about these things.
Yes, which we're going to talk about.
Hindsight's such a wonderful thing. But
yeah.
And you know, various of the doctors that I saw over that whole period told me to exercise more. I'm like, but I can't exercise more. So this narrative that, you know, you can't be experiencing this because you're obviously just being lazy, seemed to be the underlying message that I was hearing time. You can't be gaining weight without explanation. You must be lazy, was what I was hearing. You can't be overstressed if you're you mustn't, if you're as stressed as we think you are, then it must be that you're not exercising enough. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a sec. What? I mean, one of the doctors, the doctor who said the one who said to me that I clearly couldn't, there must be an explanation for why I was gaining weight, and it must be because I wasn't exercising enough, and she would refer me to exercise. How I didn't get my phone out, open up the app that showed all of my training and go, seriously. I managed not to. I managed to go, thanks, I'm a personal trainer. I teach that class. Through gritted teeth. I see you're not going to help me, and leave.
So what was the turning point for you? What was the realization, or who helped you realize that actually it was perimenopause?
Again, it's not a short answer, so I apologize. So I was at this point still trying to train for, I wasn't trying to train for Ironman any longer. I was just sort of trying to just keep active. And I had started to notice that in the few days running up to my period, I had never tracked my period until this point. It had never, you know, I'd been on the pill for years, so it just sort of happened. It was just stuff, you know. But I'd started to notice that there was a bit of a correlation with my energy dipping as my period was due. So I thought, well, maybe I should just start tracking. Maybe I'll just pop an app onto my phone. You know, what's the harm in that? Popped an app onto my phone. Brilliant. Tracked for, I don't know, 3 months, 6, I don't remember. And then thought, right, I can't pull the data out of the app to analyze it. So this isn't actually helping me at all. So I painstakingly went through the app and put it all into Excel.
Wow.
Every day, everything I'd logged, put it all into Excel.
Wow.
So that I could then pull that out and actually analyze the data. And that just whenever I say that, I think, oh my God, what level of geek am I? But anyway, as soon as I did that, there was such an obvious correlation, because I made a point in putting out all the data. I made a point of putting first date of each period, and that was where my analysis, as it were. I mean, I just turned it all into graphs because I like doing pretty things, you know. But so that was always where I'd start it each time, and it was just so clear. The lines were just there, absolutely glaring at me. So I was like, hormonal, huh? At which point, when I next went back to the doctor, I was then seeing a doctor who kind of, you know, she was one of those wonderful ones who listens and hears you, and I sadly, I know that isn't the case across the board. And I said, look, I've been tracking this and blah blah blah, and there's clearly this whole pattern going on, because the fatigue was still the biggest thing, still is now, and we'd been talking about whether it might be chronic fatigue, which is quite a big diagnosis actually, and isn't something that I would want to take lightly if I wasn't 100% on board that that's what it was, and I wasn't. Because I know friends who have chronic fatigue and ME, and who it's not what I was experiencing. You know, I was experiencing a lot of fatigue, but I wasn't having the pain, wasn't having the it wasn't that, you know. And I had some good days, and there was this really obvious pattern, and I honestly came out of that doctor's appointment, once we'd agreed that this was perimenopause, feeling like a weight had lifted. The last 3.5 years of not understanding what was going on, I had a word. I literally, someone believed me, someone agreed with me, it was a real thing. I wasn't losing the plot. I hadn't got some terrible goodness knows what. It was a normal life stage, and it was that. And this goes back to what I was saying about the acceptance experts being so important, because I think just that acceptance bit to me is so important. And just coming away and thinking, right, okay, well, you know, puberty had its moments, but I survived. I guess I've got this. I guess, you know, I'll come out the other side at some point.
It's there's so much to unpack here, and one of the first place I want to start is, this was in 2019. This wasn't 1986. No. This is now. And despite all the amazing things that are going on in the menopause space, this is now. Your experience is now of not knowing what was going on, going to doctors who didn't have the language to help you, having to do your own research and your own analysis, until you found that gem, that one doctor, that we all eventually find that one doctor who gives us this language. I want to talk to you about the tracking and you geeking out on the data. I do.
My favorite subject.
But I must tell you, I think one of the things that I am and that I do is I'm a yoga for women's health teacher. And when we talk about women's health in general, you know, for me, it's has been in the context of yoga, but not only. When we talk about women's health and when we talk about menopause symptoms or anything that you're experiencing, we do talk about tracking and journaling, because sometimes we can get caught up in this language of, I just feel bad all the time, or I'm always in pain, or I'm always moody. But the unpacking of that language and the unpacking of the assumptions of your experience begins to sort of make some sense. And so I think it's, you know, you obviously came to it from your own wisdom, but it is a tool that we use in women's health in many different ways, because it is that blanket statement of, I always feel.
Absolutely. But also tracking literally unlocks your superpower, because, and I would now, you know, again, hindsight's a wonderful thing. With hindsight, I would advocate to 18-year-old me that she started tracking. Because 18-year-old me thought that she had to be the same every day. She had to show up to work the same. She couldn't have moods. She couldn't have highs and lows of energy. If I knew then what I know now, I could have navigated my career. I could have navigated all sorts of things just differently. Yeah. And I could have made sure that in my epic days, I was booked in to do the epic stuff. And in my sort of lower energy days, I was booked in to do the low energy stuff. I genuinely didn't. And I guess that's just testament to us living in a very male world. And
yeah, and very few people are talking about, again, it's coming up more about, yes, working with our hormones and having that hormonal awareness and, the different hormones that represent different sort of energies. And that is conversation that is happening today. But we're engaging with that conversation as mature women. We're not engaging in that conversation as teenagers who have, or as early career people. Absolutely. Who are trying to figure out and who have to show up and perform 30 days a month exactly the same way.
And what I find wonderful now is that it is starting, like, I know that the England women's football team had their training worked out around their cycles, and I just think that is wonderful news, because that's starting to show, and okay, that's a sort of pretty high level and all the rest, but it just means it's starting to show that actually this is being acknowledged. I mean, going back briefly to when I was training for Ironman, Ironman is a very male world. Triathlon's a pretty male world. There isn't much out there about training to that level as a woman. Yes. And there is this kind of narrative that you have X number of sort of high intensity weeks, and then you have a sort of a lower week. Well, with hindsight, I should have been doing that around my cycle. Yeah, I should have been, and so it might not have been a 4-week precise 4-week training pattern. It might, or 5-week or whatever. It might have been, okay, periods coming then, so this is when my low week is, and actually that week I'm going to do some yoga and I'm going to do some Pilates, and actually I'm not going to do the long bike rides. I'm going to be kind to myself. I didn't have that information then. Yeah.
And also, as you said, it feels sort of, and this is part of the challenge that we're facing as successful, empowered, enlightened, powerful women, is that it still feels that we have to live up to some expectations of what is the norm in our society. And that if we feed into that narrative of downtime, working with our cycles, listening to our body, there's something sort of negative about that. It's something
which is crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Because that shouldn't be a negative, I think. And this is, this underpins why I advocate tracking and all the rest, because it's coming back to learning what your body needs. Yeah. And it's step one in that. And going back to what you were saying about, how people, and we all do it, go, oh, I feel awful all the time. And once you start tracking, you go, I don't feel awful all the time. Actually, I have some pretty good days each month. Or I'm ravenous all the time. I'm eating cake all the time, whatever. Actually, I'm not. It's just in those few days before my period. And, oh, I'm a failure because I can't follow a diet. Well, actually, no, your body needs different things throughout the cycle. And I just think, and I think this is primarily a problem that women face, but I think actually younger men are starting to face this problem as well, with there being such a lot about how we present to the outside world, what we look like, what body shape we're in, and all of those things, that tuning into yourself is kind of removed at really quite a young age. Yes. Because suddenly you need to, I mean, I remember, growing up, I come from a family where we have wide shoulders and we have hips and we have big hands, but I spent years trying to become a smaller version, because that's how I should fit in the world. And it's like, but I'm not, that isn't who I am. I'm not a little dainty person. I will never be a little dainty person. I can't be, I have size 8 feet, UK size, don't know how that translates across the world, sorry. I'm not a little dainty person. It's just not going to happen. But it's taken me to the age of, I probably got to grips with that as a concept when I was maybe 44.
Wow. That feeds into your acceptance experts, which I want to talk about in 1 minute. But I want to just say how inspiring your story is, because you took all of that hardship, struggle, awareness and realization and turned it into something that was going to contribute to the menopause space and support other women. So
yeah, didn't realize it was going to, just thought I was helping myself.
Tell us a little bit about what you've created, because you've created something really, really amazing.
So I created Perimenopause Hub. I thought that was a nice, straightforward name, and .com was available cheaply. So I figured that was the universe telling me it was a good thing to do. And I thought, right, well, I'll just bring together some experts. So I spoke to a couple of nutritionists I knew, a couple of mindset people, because again, that comes in with the acceptance thing and the mindset thing. And then I started sort of spreading the net a bit wider and thought, right, well, I need to find these experts. I know they must be out there somewhere. And I got quite a flurry from Canada, some of whom are still with me, which is awesome. Then I had a flurry from Australia and New Zealand. Still plenty coming in from the UK as well. And then got some experts in the US as well. And I sort of thought, oh, goodness, right. I see. This is quite big. And simultaneously, I set up so that we could have a kind of a forum where people could chat about stuff and get the peer support.
Say that again. You set up because you...
sorry.
It glitched for a second.
Oh, no. So I set up a Facebook group at the same time, just so that we could have a forum where people could chat and access the experts, but also get peer support and things. And that's just gone crazy. It's gone absolutely crazy. I haven't even looked at the numbers in there this week, but I think we're around 58,000.
Wow.
All around the world. And we've got lots of members from, for example, the Philippines, which just is not what I was expecting. But it doesn't matter where in the world somebody is. If she needs support through perimenopause, she needs support through perimenopause. And that's the beauty of having an online forum, is that...
Yeah, and the experts are in the group and they give all the advice and everything within the group.
Yes, and they're also on the website. And I'm literally in the process of back and forth with my web guy about totally rejigging the website to make it much more focused on helping people and signposting them to actual things they can do right now to get help, as opposed to it being a bit sort of ethereal.
Right.
So yes, and I'm gonna jump this one in now. I've just started doing in-person meetups as well, because actually people need in-person stuff. So they are called the Perimenopause Hug,
nice.
which sounds like I brainstormed or something. Simply, at the very first venue I booked, the lady misheard me when I said Perimenopause Hub, and I thought, do you know what, that's perfect, because I'm going to hug everyone. So we now have perimenopause hugs, and they've started local to me. But I am working on, and hopefully by the time this goes out, this will be a thing, sort of a package that people can get to set up one in their own area as well, so that we can spread these everywhere. Because people still aren't feeling heard. And
so I want to ask you about, I want you to expand on that a minute, because you are based in the UK, and we know that the UK is one of the pioneers in opening up this menopause conversation. I am originally from the UK. I don't live there now, but I follow everything that's going on. And from an outside perspective, it feels like there's a menopause coach on every corner. That's what it feels like in the UK at the moment. Not. Yeah. So tell us what your women, your audience, the members of your hub, what are you hearing from them? What is the sort of real experience? Because it feels like everyone in the UK knows everything, and there should be no confusion, and you should be able to go to your doctor and get the treatment or the support or the help you need. So fill us in a little bit about what you're hearing from your audience.
sadly, that's not the case. And I do absolutely agree with you that UK is, in many respects, leading the way in terms of menopause care and research and things like that. Although there's some interesting research coming out of the US as well. But I won't get into my thoughts on US healthcare right now. However, at individual level, women are still not being heard.
Okay.
And that's coming up time and time again in the Facebook group. It's why I started doing the in-person groups, because at the in-person things, and it sounds so basic and so simple, but it's just, it works. We literally have a flip chart and we write out all of the things that people are struggling with. So we go around the room, people just shout stuff out, gets written on the flip chart. It is heard. You see it written on the flip chart. You have suddenly been validated. It's real.
Yeah.
Then as a group, we brainstorm around things that we've tried that have helped these things on the flip chart, because that's what we need. We need that women supporting women, that just community that years ago, that community thing would have existed in other forms, but the conversation probably would have turned to this, even if we couldn't discuss it outside of those women's groups. But we don't really have that any longer. And so I'm just trying to replicate that. And then we always eat cake because, you know, and then I just hug everybody. And people have to be quite careful. If people aren't very huggy, they do have to keep their distance, because I will otherwise just go and envelop them in a massive hug.
You need a badge. Hug me, don't hug me.
Like those awful dating things they used to have with the traffic lights.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I should do. I should put in everybody's little goodie bag, like a
little badge,
a hug or no hug sticker, and then they. It's a very good idea. I'm going to do that. I'm going to implement that for Saturday's one, which is the next one.
Excellent. No, so I agree with you, and it's definitely true around the world that no, in England, UK is doing it, I think, one of the best, and even that, it's not filtering down to the person on the street. It's not filtering down to the person who is experiencing the, you know, their menopause journey. And the only thing that I will bring up here, because you may have seen it because you are exposed to such a wide audience, and the one of the few criticisms I have of the UK conversation is it's very homogeneous. It's very homogeneous of a middle class, white, thick gender woman who is going through her menopause journey. And we're not looking at different ethnicities, different ages. You said you were 39, 40 when you began to notice. That's considered young end of the spectrum. You know, different gender, different identity, different ethnicity, transgender in either direction. You know, it's
really interesting.
And socioeconomic backgrounds, because that also impacts.
Of course it does. And although interestingly, what I've observed, and this is not born out of any science or anything, this is just an observation, the biggest common theme among women who are struggling badly with their perimenopause is stress.
Yes.
And stress doesn't care what your socioeconomic background is. It doesn't care where you fit demographically. It just, if it is hitting you and you are struggling with it, it's going to affect your hormones. Another thing I learned along the way, big endurance exercise. Yeah, ups your stress.
Let's talk about that. Excellent. Thank you. Let's talk about that, because you related to that and you said the standard medical line is if you're gaining weight, you need to be exercising more. Talk to me about the exercise piece. Because that is your area of expertise. Let's go into that.
So it's a really interesting one, because since the very start of my perimenopause journey, before I knew what was going on, I retrained as a personal trainer. So I've seen this from how the doctors have spoken to me, but also going through personal trainer school, as it were. Over exercise is not discussed. It simply is not discussed. The narrative is that exercise is good, more exercise is even more good.
Yes.
And there just doesn't, and I feel like I'm on a bit of a feminist thing here, but I'm not meaning to. But PT school, it's all about how you train a bloke.
Yes.
It isn't. There can be sometimes a nod to the fact that women's muscle groups are kind of, yes, okay, we've got the same muscle groups. I'm not saying that, but we aren't as strong in our upper body as men are. We you know, we are different. We're smaller. We're, you know.
Yes. And also our muscles will respond differently at different times of the month.
Exactly.
And as we enter perimenopause, menopause, our muscles are going to respond differently again.
Exactly. And the narrative again is that we should all be the same, and, you know, and just do more exercise. And during my whole 3.5 years of desperately trying to figure out what the hell was happening to me, I worked with a nutritionist, but who also had a background in Ironman triathlon.
Wow.
And she sent me to get various tests, including a full thyroid panel, came back clear. At that point, I genuinely wanted it to come back with something, because then I would have an answer.
Yes. Yes.
And she also got
so heartbreaking.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I was honestly hoping, because then I could just get some thyroxine and job would be, and I'd be fine.
And it would fix the problem.
Yeah. She also
sorry, I did one more thing. I want to go back to that exercise can be stress. It will look different for different women, because many of the women will say, don't be so stupid. I'm not exercising enough to stress my body out. So what is more stress, less stress?
Well,
you were training for Ironman, and most women are not at that level, and they'll say, I'm not at that level.
Absolutely. And I didn't think, I mean, I knew I was training for that, but I wasn't quick. I wasn't like at that level. So there's always that sort of narrative of, oh, I'm not them, so it's okay. Yes. But this same nutritionist, she got me to do a cortisol test. So I had to do a saliva thing 4 times a day.
Yes, 24-hour cortisol test.
I still feel for the person who has to analyzing people's spit. That just ekes me out a bit. But anyway, there we are. That's a me problem. And it was when those results came back, she rang me and she went, right, stop.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, yes, but the narrative is that I must keep exercising. Yes. Otherwise I will be a failure and lazy and bad.
Yes.
She's like, no, you have to stop. She's like, your levels are terrifyingly low. So all my symptoms were of high cortisol, and my levels were so low because I'd obviously pushed through and then crashed.
Wow.
And this all then ties in with the tracking thing again. But in answer to what you were saying, it doesn't matter if what you perceive that you're doing is not too much. If it is too much for you, for your body, today, it's too much. So as an example, earlier in 2015, I'd run London Marathon. Lovely day, thoroughly enjoyed it, high-fived everybody, grinned the whole way around.
I'm surprised you didn't stop to give everyone a hug, Emily.
I thought about it. But then I thought, oh, I probably ought to keep moving. But loved every second of it. Went out for dinner with mum and dad and some of their friends in the evening. Brilliant. Next day, quite achy in the legs. Still had loads of energy. Back to training in a couple of days. Fine. That was how my body used to react to exercise. The last time I tried to run was January 2019. So I'd spoken to the nutritionist and she told me to completely stop in April 2018.
Yeah.
So I'd done very little from then. And then I thought, well, I can probably try again. I'll give it a go. I ran slower than I've ever run, and I'm not a quick runner. for 20 minutes
Yes.
and then slept
Wow.
and slept a nap every day for a week.
Wow.
My body was not ready for any endurance exercise, and still now. So I'm where are we now? 2023. So
Yeah.
5 years on from when I first had those cortisol tests. Even if I walk too far, I know about it now.
Wow.
I pushed my body so far,
far.
and I genuinely didn't see that I was doing any damage, because exercise is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
Yeah. And I want to really say that we only think of stress in our bodies,
Yes.
in that typical stress. Oh, I'm so stressed out, or I've got a stressful job, or I've got a stressful boss, or I've got a, stressful family life situation. We always see stress as that external thing that is happening that we need to deal with. And very often we deal with in unhealthy ways, or whatever your coping mechanism,
or by exercising.
or by exercising, without realizing that stress can show up in our body in lots of different ways. And even the healthy things that we think we're doing can put our bodies into stress.
Yeah.
And it can be really complicated and really nuanced and really confusing. And so you arrive at perimenopause and your body says, no, thank you. We're not going to do this.
But this is another thing where I really strongly advocate now for people getting to know their own body, understanding what those stress triggers feel like in you, because I can feel them a mile off now. I can feel it. And whether that is from an external stress because I'm late for something or whatever, or whether that is that I've overdone it, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I had just always ignored that feeling.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that my body had anything useful to add to the narrative, when actually, if I just I wouldn't have started doing Ironman for starters. But if anybody watching this takes away one thing, honestly, the one thing that I wish I could gift to everybody is that understanding of what your body's telling you. And I do think that starting tracking, and tracking doesn't need to be about your period, by the way. I feel I need to just get this one out of the.
Yes.
Often people say, oh, but I don't have a period because of birth control, or because of this, or because of that.
Yes.
Oh, I can't track. Absolutely, 100% you can. Identify the things that you want to track. It might be sleep, it might be fatigue, it might be stress, it might be moods, it might be heart palpitations, it might be, doesn't matter. It might be your energy levels, it might be your hunger, it might be whatever. Yes. Track those things. Do it on an app if you want to. Do it on paper if you want to. Journal every day if you want to. I don't care how you do it. It simply doesn't matter. But do something that gets you listening to your body and understanding what it's telling you. And I absolutely 100% promise you will start to feel a bit better simply by virtue of doing that.
Yeah. Thank you. It's really such important advice and information to start listening to your body. To start listening to your body is really so important. So thank you for sharing that. Today, with your Perimenopause Hub, with what's going on there, if someone sort of really resonates with what you're saying, what sort of, how do you work with clients, with women? Sort of what is your process?
I just hug people. Yeah. No, I
find you in England next time I'm there, Emily.
There it is. So I don't take on individual clients because I prefer to signpost people to the people who I know can help them best for the thing that's right for them. That said, if anyone were to want to work with me, my role is to signpost. My role is to really help people to dig down into the nitty-gritty of what they need. Yeah. So I was nicknamed the Peri Godmother by somebody in the group a few years ago. And I think actually that works quite nicely as a sort of as a moniker. Because that's how I am here to help you find the help you want, the help you need. So view me as kind of a, I don't know, a yellow pages of perimenopause. I'm not going to say a Google because that's a slightly large thing, but you know, I will in my little black book, I will have the person who genuinely can resolve whatever issue it is that you're dealing with. And so, yes, I do work with people one-to-one, but not very much, because primarily I'm always trying to put them in touch with the person who's most right for them.
Yeah, amazing.
But my role really is to listen and to signpost and to hug people.
Amazing. Wow. All I can say is, you, from your experiences, I won't say negative experiences, but from your experiences, you've really had that growth and turned it into something so amazing and fantastic. And you know, you really are such an inspiration to me, and I hope to everyone listening about what you can achieve. I, you know, met you through your Peri Fest online things that you were running through your Facebook group, and as you said, you know, you are just allowing this information to be shared, information that has to be out there. So really, thank you for all you do. Thank you for joining me at the Menopause Summit and for sharing your story. And I think your story is going to resonate with so many people, because women don't know what is going on. You know, one of my, just a tiny anecdote, one of my clients that I'm working with, that I'm going through all, you know, the way that I work with my clients and creating all the hormonal health and managing and treating the symptoms, and starting to listen to the body about how you're responding to different things. She goes to the gym twice a week. She does other movement and exercise, but she goes to the gym twice a week. She told me, as she's beginning to pay attention, she knows that on some days she has an afternoon energy dip. So obviously we're changing the food and we're cutting out, you know, the sugar and all the stuff and doing all the things that she needs to be doing. But she went to the gym in the morning and she told me that afternoon she had an energy dip. And I'm like, okay, start paying attention on the days you go to the gym. How do you feel in the afternoon? And she's like, really? Because we have in our head, you go to the gym, you're going to be energized and you're going to have energy because you went to the gym, and you're going to have, you know, all these good hormones running around your body.
Which when your hormones are doing what they have been doing for the rest of your life, is absolutely true. And it does give you that wonderful boost in the morning. But then as things start changing, as your estrogen and your progesterone change, and you become more susceptible to cortisol and all the rest, suddenly it doesn't, it gives you the little high straight afterwards, but it doesn't necessarily give you the longer term buzz that it used to. But there are other things that will. It might be yoga, it might be walks, it might be gardening, but and it makes me sound so incredibly middle-aged when I say that, but there we go. But it's but your body still wants to move. Your body still definitely wants to move. Your body doesn't want to become completely sedentary. It's not what we're designed for. It's not how the body's designed to be. But it just desperately needs you to work with it, not against it.
And as you said, the paying attention, the listening, the tracking, that is where all the secret sauce, that is where the secret sauce is. Because until you start paying attention to that, okay, I went to the gym in the morning, I was tired in the afternoon. Okay, that's just what happens.
I have one thing that I must add at this point.
Please do.
The driving reason for a lot of us to go to the gym or to address our food or stuff often isn't for helping us feel better. It's often for the external. And I just want to say, everybody watching this right now, you are perfect exactly as you are. You do not need to change, but I do want you to feel epic. So if changes need to happen to help you to feel epic, make those changes. Don't make those changes for anybody else.
Yeah, amazing. And that leads straight into the acceptance experts. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for joining me. I know we could talk for another half an hour.
Oh yeah, easily.
But I'm coming to find you when I'm next in England, I promise.
There's a hug here.
Great. Thank you, Emily, for joining us. Everyone, thank you for listening and being with us today at the Menopause Summit. You can contact Emily at the contact details that are below this video. And I look forward to seeing you at the next session in the Menopause Summit.